What's up, guys? Vlog number 19 of Zero's Geckos. My name is Harry, Zero's Geckos, host of Gecko Pod as well. Um, I am, as usual, long overdue for a vlog. I was reminded by a few people that they want to see an update. So here I am. I'm feeding crickets today. I got a shipment of crickets from Timberline, and they are a little bit cheaper than Pangea. Um, they are brown crickets rather than those banded crickets, so they're not as hardy, but they are pretty juicy and plump if you can feed them off quickly. And I try to have a bulk order of these crickets so that it'll last me 2 weeks, kind of like what I did with Pangea from Top Hat Cricket Farm. Those crickets actually last quite a while. Those last like 2-3 weeks, and they're pretty good crickets. Timberline, the brown crickets, they're not as hardy. They die within, I don't know, 5 days. So they can't last 2 weeks, basically. So what I'm doing instead is I am biting the bullet and paying a premium to get them shipped to me every week. It's expensive, so this is not what I would recommend for a lot of newer people, newer breeders, and people, not even newer breeders, people with smaller collections. It's not worthwhile if you don't feed like thousands of crickets a week. For me, it's not even that much, right? I feed maybe 5,000, 6,000, maybe 7,000 crickets a week. I could, but I think even at the 5,000 cricket level, I'm able to maintain a good, I could feed that probably twice a week and it would be okay. Just feed a little bit less as long as I have a consistent supply of crickets. So basically, I'm biting the bullet to have a shipment come to me once a week. So I get it every Tuesday. I get a shipment in every Tuesday. I just started this routine recently, and they come in fresh and alive. They overnight ship it, and this is where the shipping is expensive. I think it's like 40 or 50 bucks to kind of overnight ship it out to California, and it's almost 100 bucks a week, which is pretty insane if you think about it. But it's I'm kind of at that size where I need to feed consistently to kind of get the animals to a level that they can grow, in my opinion, more properly in terms of their level. So I'm not like binge feeding these things. I'm not trying to like power feed these things so that, they're like massive within a few months. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to grow it at a pace that I feel is a healthy rate. What I don't think is a good way to do it is that if your animal is a year and a half, and it's only 12 grams, I don't think that's the way to go. I've received animals like that from several breeders. And for me, it's a little bit frustrating to see animals that size. At a year's age, I feel like these animals should be 30 grams plus. And that's just my opinion. I know people might differ on that, but that's kind of what I've seen to be healthy and what I've seen to, for the animals to do well. And people are, when they receive their animals, they get animals that are nice and good sized, basically. So basically, I'm doing the feeding for buyers, and I'm doing the feeding so that things I hold back, they'll be a good size, so that they can breed at the correct age and weight range. So that's what I'm doing. So I got these crickets in. I get the crickets in on Tuesday. So my feeding cycle is I feed diet on Monday, and then I get the crickets in on Tuesday. I feed them, the vegetables. I feed them I feed them the high calcium Flukers, high calcium cricket diet, because it's cheaper than the Pangea stuff, the pig insect grub. So this is what I feed. I feed this. You could buy this from Amazon. I feel like this is the cheapest. Whether it's the healthiest, I'm not sure, but it is cheaper. I haven't looked into the nutrition facts of everything yet, But I do the Fluker's high calcium cricket diet, and this is a 6-pound jar for 20, and I get it for like 22 to 24 bucks for one of these. Whereas the Pangea insect grub, it's up there. Let me show you guys. That thing is expensive, even at a, even at a breeder level account, like you get it a little bit cheaper than MSRP. Even that's pricier still. So, but it feeds well though. So the Pangea insect grub is this right here. The roach and cricket feed. It's called pig because it says Pangea. Is it focusing? I gotta see if it's focusing. Pangea insect grub. It's not focusing, but pig. So this is a feeder for your animals. I mean your roaches, for your crickets. So what I do is to gut load my crickets, I feed them either this or the high calcium, Fluker's high calcium cricket diet. I give them a day in that. So I get out on Tuesday and I feed I gut load them with vegetables and this extra meal, insect meal, to get them the calcium that they need. And then I feed them I feed crickets on Wednesday. So my cycle of feeding is diet on Monday, gut load my crickets on Tuesday so that I can feed them on Wednesday. So diet Monday, crickets Wednesday, and then I do diet on Friday and then crickets on Saturday. So it kind of like staggers a little bit, but that's kind of my current cycle as to my feeding rotation. People do it differently. If I don't get consistent crickets though, I'll do an extra feeding of diet. So if, for example, if 1 week I don't have crickets, then I will do, Monday diet, Wednesday diet, Friday diet. And then I'll just kind of cycle through that. So wintertime, it's tough. As of this recording, it's mid-February, and the wintertime is always tough with the crickets. You get a lot of dead crickets. So far, Timberline has been good. I haven't had any dead crickets. I mean, they die within a few days, but this is why I do the weekly rotation so that I can feed them off in 2 feedings, and then I have a fresh batch on the following week. But in general, it's hard to get a consistent supply of crickets, especially during the winter. And so far, so good. So, shout out to those guys. It's been working okay. If you feed thousands of crickets, bite the bullet, pay the overnight shipping of like 40 or 50 bucks, and just so that you can get fresh crickets. So it's one of those things where I was trying to save money for a long time because I don't want to pay unnecessary amounts of money for things that I don't have to. So I'm always looking for deals, and to some degree, I penny pinch a little bit when it comes to purchasing things because I feel like there are better solutions than just paying Top Hat, Pangea a ton of money. Like if I can save a few bucks here and there per shipment, and at the same time, having that consistent supply, then I will do that. So Pangea / Top Hat Cricket Farm has been that for me for the past year or so. But now I'm going to try to feed a little bit more consistently and do it with Timberline. So I heard of Timberline from Andrew at White Tank, but also on one of my lives, my Palm Street lives. I was like, we were just talking about feeding and talking about crickets, and then somebody mentioned that they also go through Timberline. So you guys watching this is a free ad for Timberline. Give it a try. If it works, awesome. It might not work for everybody. It won't work for everybody, but it might make sense for some of you guys. So if you guys feed a bunch of crickets, try Timberline. Tell the people that I sent you. I get nothing. They don't have any referral bonuses or kickbacks, but feel free to try them out. And if it works, awesome. I'm just here to help as much as I can, help people save money. So that's crickets here. So I get 3,000 3/4 inch for kind of the grow outs, the adults, And then I get 2,000 half inch for some of the smaller stuff. And, even the 3/4 kind of feed to some of the, the grow outs and a little bit of the smaller ones. I'll just feed a little bit less, maybe like 2 or 3 of the 3/4 for, like a juvenile, and they'll eat it as long as they can down it and keep it down. Then I'll try to feed that to them. So that's the cricket situation at the moment. I feel like as long I'm paying the premium, I feel like it's a good rotation. So I'm going to give it a go, give it a few months to make sure that I'm happy with it. I'm happy with the rotation. I'm happy with the consistency. So consistency is important for me so that I can build that into the routines and build that into the systems of what we're doing. What we're doing is we're just farming, right? We're farming geckos, and we need consistency. We need reliability, and if that variable is off, then it can be frustrating because it just kind of throws the system off a little bit. So hopefully this works. I'll pay a little bit more for if it works well. So that's the cricket stuff. So I'm about to feed that as I chat with you guys. When it comes to kind of the food, so what I wanted to talk a little bit about today is I wanted to talk about kind of food. It's been kind of on the radar for the past few months, whether it's, what are we feeding? Pangea, Repashy, Vital Meal, some people will feed Lugardi, Blue River Diet, BPZ, Aerotonic stuff. I'm missing something. I'm missing a bunch of stuff actually, but you get the point, right? We're all just trying to find a good solution so that we can feed. And, AJ and I were talking about diets and stuff, and we're going to cover the topic of diet in one of our in an upcoming episode of Gecko Pod, right? We will probably have a episode specializing in diet, but I just wanted to touch on it for this vlog because it's one of those things that I'm just trying to figure out for myself personally, and I talk about this on my live palms as well with you guys. A lot of people in the live palms were just always chatting about diet and stuff, and so I've been after the Alan Repashy Gecko Pod, I was inspired to look into food a little bit more. AJ's always been looking into food and stuff. He's talked about this before with on past episodes of the Gecko Pod, but he's looked into making his own food before. He's considering those things and kind of diving into those things again. But after the Alan Repashy episode, then I started picking up more Repashy food, and for the longest time I've heard that it doesn't feed well. Some people will have good success with it. Other people have it doesn't feed well. You have to feed it with Pangea. You have to feed it mixed with other stuff. And so after talking with Alan, then I just bought a bunch of Repashy. And I'm going to be honest with you, Pangea feeds well. It feeds fine. Whatever the formula is, whether it's more sugar, whether it's less nutritious, those are things that I'm kind of deep diving now. Along with AJ, we're trying to figure out kind of the ingredients to all these things, and we'll talk about that in more detail on an episode of Gecko Pod. But I started thinking what are these things that cause us to not use a product over the other? And I realized that a lot of it is just whatever the community says, the general vibes of it, whether it's me taking a poll and seeing who feeds what feeds well, and then hearing from others. Yeah, I think that's one important aspect of it. But sometimes, we'll buy into these people say this, so that must be the case. Maybe a majority of people don't feed Repashy, and so that must be the case that it doesn't feed well. And so for me, I wanted to figure out myself. I bought a bunch of Repashy. I have these big, up here, right? Oops. So up here, I bought a bunch of Repashy. I also have Pangea up there. And so it's no hate against Pangea whatsoever. Pangea has fed my collection for the past 3 breeding seasons solely, right? And it's been no issues. So shout out to Pangea on that end. So it's nothing against Pangea at all. But I do think that understanding why we feed one thing over the other is important. So what I did was, does Repashy actually feed well or not, right? So this is what I did. I literally cold turkey fed my entire collection. I have probably like 6 to 800 animals, probably more closer to 800 animals, including hatchlings, right? So it's a lot. I have a lot of hatchlings that are growing out. But I cold turkey stopped Pangea, my Pangea mix, which was fig and insect and growth and breeder, which is a lot of people's mixture. And I did the classic fruit and the mango super blend. And these are both complete diets, meaning if you feed these solely and you don't mix anything into it, and let's say you don't even feed live crickets, like you can feed these, right? And this combo and these two flavors, I asked Andrew Gilpin about from LAC Herps, and they recommended these flavors, right? This, and they also mentioned a couple of flavors like mulberry and and so I cold turkey cut off Pangea just for to test trial this, right? And I fed Repashy solely with this blend. It's the classic fruit blend, 50% of that and 50% of mango super blend. I did everything exactly the same as my Pangea mix, except I mixed with these two powders. And so, I'll cut an extra banana in there with, like half a banana or however big, my feeding is. I don't overdo it. So, I just cut a little bit of a banana so it mixes in a little bit more sweetness and gives it a little bit more consistency that I'm looking for. And, I'll add a little bit of honey, not very much, right? Because the whole idea is like, if you sweeten it too much, then, geckos are going to be obese and it's not as healthy for them. But I followed my recipe that I do for Pangea normally, and I did it with Repashy with those two powders, and it fed perfectly, right? It fed exactly the same as though I wasn't feeding Pangea, as though I was feeding Pangea. And so I was like, oh, okay, like everything is eating it, so maybe the mixture of how people were mixing it into their own collections, it didn't work well for their collection. Maybe the formula was a little bit off in terms of the variables of any supplements that they give them. Maybe they mixed it with other flavors that didn't feed well. Maybe grubs and fruit, I heard that doesn't feed well unless you mix it really well into the other flavors. So I don't know. So my takeaway is that Repashy fed exactly as Pangea did, at least with these two flavors. And if those two combos of flavors works, then I'm gonna roll with it. So I got these big tubs of mango and classic fruit that I've been rotating for several feedings now, and it's fed perfectly. It's fed like nothing's wrong with it. Because I'm sure there's nothing wrong with it. Maybe it's just our formulation and how we do it, whether it's like too thin or too thick, So I'm playing with those variables as well. All in all, to say that Repashy, there's no issues. I thought there was because of this stigma that Repashy doesn't feed well. You have to mix Pangea into it, and I haven't found that to be the case. I just cold turkey mixed in Repashy, and it fed exactly how I fed Pangea. So there's that. And so now I'm going to probably test other flavors and start mixing some stuff into it to see if the feeding response is the same or worse, and just so I can have that experimentation and share with you guys. And I get it, like everybody has a different collection, different environment, different picky eaters, and so what works here isn't always going to work with you guys, with other people, and I get that. So I'm just saying what works with me and what I've experimented. And maybe it's just our formulation, maybe it's just kind of how we do things as well. I do think that there's a variable, that's a pretty big variable in terms of how well it feeds or not, right? So give Repashy a try. I've been selling it on Palm Street, and people have been trying it as well. And so, yep, give it a good run, and let's see if it's, if it really holds true that Repashy doesn't feed well. For me, that's not the case. It feeds perfectly. I've also seen a lot of people start feeding Vital Meal. I heard mixed reviews with Blue River Diet, skewing more on the negative feeding response / I don't know what's going on with them, but I haven't got a lot of heard a lot of positive reviews. So just take my review with a grain of salt, because I don't want to speak on things I don't know. I'm just sharing with you what I heard. And I haven't heard a lot of positive things with Blue River Diet. I'm not sure. right? Basically, that's just what I heard. Whether it's true or not, I'm not sure. So you guys feed it yourself and see if it feeds well or not. I feel like I don't need to. Maybe I'll try it. I don't know, on a small sampling of animals, but in general, like how I want to do it, even with Repashy, I want to like just feed the entire collection the same thing and see how well it feeds. So, I'm sure I could take like a section, a rack here, and see how well it feeds. For me, I want to see how the entire group feeds if I cold turkey the whole thing, and I know that it does take a little bit of ramp up for some of the geckos to get used to a different diet, especially if they've been feeding solely on a flavor for the past couple seasons. So I get that. But yeah, I almost solely fed Pangea fig and insect and growth and breeder, a mix of that, maybe like a 70-30 mix, solely for like 3 seasons, and it fed well. And I cold turkeyed Repashy and it fed exactly the same. So I don't know. Maybe it's just my collection. I don't know. So anyway, Blue River diet I'm not sure of. Lugardi I've never tried. I've heard mixed reviews on that, skewing towards negative in terms of the feeding response and how well the geckos do. But again, I've never tried it myself, so I can't say fully. BPZ I've never tried. I heard mixed reviews on that. Some positive, more neutral, I think. And then that's BBZ, but I should probably give that a try as well. And then Aerotonic I've never tried. I've heard mixed reviews on that as well, but again, not enough information to like say anything at all. So I don't want to speak too much on the things I haven't tried. I can just talk about things I've tried. So Repashy, thumbs up to that. Vital Meal, I just got a sampling of Vital Meal from Da from IB Exotics. And I just got that in this week, so I'll be sampling that. I'll also be having Vital Meal available. I'll sell that on the live Palm Streets, and also probably I'll upload it to my website as well. And if people want to try that out, we can try that out together and see how well it feeds or doesn't feed. But so far, what I've heard is promising, but we'll see. I don't know. I can't say yet because I haven't fed that to my collection yet. So that's what's going on with the diet stuff. I'm bullish on Repashy because I've actually tried it and it works well. So if you need Repashy, feel free to hit me up. You could get these 3-ounce jars to sample, or else these 6-ounce, or else the big ones. The big ones I think most people don't need because they're pretty big, and I think most people are within the realm of like a 12-ounce jar, or so there's that. What else we want to talk about today, guys? I mean, now that we're kind of rolling with this new season, I do think that diet's important because the breeding aspect and making sure, our geckos are healthy, growing well, feeding well, making sure the females are well calcified as they produce eggs, and they don't crash and stuff. And so I do think that diet and crickets and just this feeding thing we got to figure it out. Maybe a bunch of people have already figured it out, but I think it's nice to have different options as well. So there is that. Alan will probably be back on the Gecko Pod. He's down to do a few more episodes. We'll just hammer out kind of the topics there and figure out what will be helpful and informative for the community. So yeah, I'm glad that we'll be able to get some more conversations and talks with Alan to kind of just kind of pick his brain and discuss whether it's genetics or kind of the history and the hobby, and just kind of have that insight. at hand. So hopefully people will benefit from kind of those conversations. As of this recording, today is Wednesday, February what? We just had Valentine's Day on Friday. So I don't know, February 20th? I don't know. It's Wednesday today. And tonight we have a recording on the Gecko Pod with Don at RCK, Reptile City, Korea. Our last episode was with Don, and we had a lot of good feedback on that one. People really enjoyed that one. Maybe some people didn't, but in general, I think there was a positive feedback for that one. So we're going to do a part 2, and we're recording that today. Me, AJ, and Anthony and Jess at Little Monsters. And what time is it? We'll be recording that in a few hours. But I figured, I got to feed tonight anyway. Feed right now. I'm not feeding. I'm just talking too much. We got to feed, and then I got to pick up the kids from school, or half the kids, because a bunch of them do sports and stuff. And then I have the recording with Don in a few hours. So yeah, I was gonna feed today. I did a little bit of cleaning. The cleaning aspect is kind of the chore that kind of everybody dreads. Maybe some people like it. I like it sometimes I don't. And I clean racks at a time. It would take me forever to clean everything all at once. So I'll just clean things in sections. And not everything's clean, but some things are. And today is Wednesday, so it's cricket day. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to chat a little bit more before I end this. How long are we in? We're like 26 minutes in. So a vlog shouldn't be like an hour long, which I've made them. I mean, it can be, but so what I do is, I'll take the crickets out. I'll throw them in this bin. I'll split them up evenly, make sure there's enough space. And then, I'll put some carrots in there. Sometimes I'll throw in some kale, some cabbage. Apples tend to mold easier because they're so wet, but carrots are good. And I don't put water in here because they get most of their moisture and their water from the vegetable. So that's what I do. And then I'll throw in, the feed in here, and then I'll give them a day to eat it all up. And they seem to eat it all pretty quickly, especially if you have like a couple thousand in a bin. So what I do is I have this Ziploc bag, and then I'll just shake it in here. So shake it in here. The good thing about the brown crickets is that they're jumpy, but they're a little bit less jumpy than the banded crickets, and they're a little bit softer and meatier, it seems. And they don't cling as hard. So when I shake them from some of these egg flats, then it just like falls right in. So let me do. We have some dead in the bottom, but not a ton. Mostly alive. Oh shoot. I have so many like random crickets jumping around in here. Like in the corner of this room, there's like under the racks and stuff, there's so many dead crickets. Crickets that escape and stuff. So for example, here's what I do. Throw them in here. If you guys don't know how to feed, or have trouble feeding crickets, I'll shake them into a Ziploc bag. Learned this from AJ. Learned this from AJ early on. And then I'll grab my calcium. I use Mineral. Has phosphorus free with vitamin D3. So I get mine with D3 because there's no UVB on the Cresteds, and the D3 helps them absorb the calcium. I'll give it a really good dust. Shake that powder in there. So they're all like white looking. And then Shake them up. Get all that calcium on there. And then they're all like dusted, right? They're all dusted white. Oh my gosh. You see, sort of see. And then I'll just throw them in. I'll throw them into the bins. So I'll feed for a little bit and chat a little bit more, and then I'll let you guys go. But yeah, the season's going well. I think I counted I counted a bunch of new eggs for the season so far. It's only February, and I have maybe like 170 or so eggs. I'm definitely breeding more than I did last year. And even then, I haven't paired everything up yet. I haven't paired everything up yet. But, you know, I'm saving. I don't want to just like all of a sudden like do, you know, blow my load on like a handful of breeder males. You know, I'm trying to save some of them, so in case I have stuff later on to pair, I can, you know. So one thing I am trying to pair is I have a sable. I have 2 sable males that I'm growing out, and they're almost there. They're like 31 grams each, and I'm trying to get them up to 35, 40 ideally, and they're just slow growers. Those ones I got from a Korea import, and those were really expensive. So that's been a little bit frustrating, you know. The thing about that import is that, you know, they'll advertise it a certain weight, and then when I get it, it's like significantly smaller than what's advertised. And so by the time, so, you know, if you plan around that and you plan for these things to be ready to breed by the beginning of breeding season and they're not there, it's definitely frustrating. And that's been the case. I've been trying to grow these things for 3 months now, and they're not ready yet. But I'm hoping, I think they're of age. It's just that I don't think they feed live crickets over there. At least it doesn't seem the case, because they have their bulge, but these things are still small, you know. So I'm saving some females for the sable lilies, and I think it's going to be really good. I'm saving some of my holdbacks, that I produced. So I'm hoping that it'll make some really nice things. But yeah, I'm also, you know, I'm not everything's going to be sable related, that project, but I'm saving a bunch of stuff I grew out as well, so that I can continue the projects of the high white stuff that I've been working on. That's kind of my main projects, the non typical morph stuff. Typical meaning the non-fancy morphs, the stuff that's more basic, you know, quote unquote basic, and the things that are more things that, oh shoot, oops, I accidentally cut off that video, so I'll have to add 2 files up. But anyway, I was talking about high white stuff. That's still my main project. I'm still real all about the high white stuff and working that project and seeing where it goes. So I'm excited about that stuff still. That stuff is the long grind for sure. That is for sure a passion project, because you realize even if you get like really nice high-end breeders, high white stuff, like you're just not going to make everything that you want, you know. You'll make a handful of things here and there, but I guess it's like any project. It takes a while to develop, you know. And I think that's the fun of it, is that it's not as easy as you want it to be. But also then it's a chase, you know. It's a chase that makes the hobby more fun, and also kind of keeps that value. I guess if everyone can make it so easily, everybody would be doing it. and everybody would be selling it. And I realized that with some of these projects, like it's just not as easy to make, and that's what makes things maybe help it hold a little bit more value. So I'm working on that. I have a bunch of tiger stuff that I'm working on as well. I have that tiger project that I'm pretty excited for. I have some orange tigers that look really cool. Not cap stuff. I have, I'll work cap into it as well, but I have some non-cap orange tiger stuff. So I'm excited for those lines. Stuff from Cryptiles mixed with stuff from, Tara Lee, some of her Falk York stuff. And mixing some of those lines together has been pretty good. I have like a tiger, a nice dark phantom tiger with portholes from Gecko Junkies, from Tristan. And that one's been making some really cool stuff as well. So I'm mixing, matching a bunch of stuff to see what kind of has popped. And so far, majority of the tiger stuff is pretty exciting to me. It's pretty good. So I'm working on that. What other projects? I have this pixel project that I'm working on. I have a bunch of females, a handful of females that I'm holding back. I'm growing out. And that one I'm a little bit less excited about, mainly because, if you're expecting, if I was expecting to make visual pixels, and it was sold to me as such, then I would, that's my expectation, right? But expectations were not met, and I was sold something that the seller was not certain about, that at least wasn't proved outside of the collection. And here we are with 0 visual pixels. And that's fine. I'm still going to work on that project. It's just going to take a little bit longer than anticipated. So yeah, that one's more of like a side project for me. I'm not giving up on that one because I still think that pixels can be done well. We just haven't seen them fully, at least consistently, utilized and maximized, So it's fun though, in that sense that, we're still working on it. There are still some people that are passionate about it, and it's good to see. So I have that. I still love lilies. I'm working on lilies. I have a lot of lilies actually. I'll mix it with kind of the lily. I have Axanthic lily that I'm breeding. I have, the sable lilies that I'll pair up. I made some Ghost, Ghost, my boy, my high white extreme. I paired Ghost to some lilies as well to make Ghost lilies. And here's one of them. Let me show you. This one is pretty cool. Here's an example of a Ghost lily. And not all of them are this nice, but let me see if it focuses. Can you guys see it? Dorsum's pretty much all covered, a little bit tangy as well. And this is still small too. This is probably like 10 grams or so, 10 to 12 grams. This one, I think, I didn't even sex this one. A lot of stuff I don't sex anymore because I have so many animals that I just wait till they just pop pores or pop a bulge. And because I'm not selling it right away anyway, right? I'm just letting things grow out, which I'll talk about in a second. But this one's pretty nice. This one's a Ghost lily. The coverage will just get better, that lily expression. So, but it's developed, it's starting to develop even more, If you see kind of that lateral pattern, the base is dark and it's covering more and more as it ages up and grows. So that's pretty exciting. So this is a Ghost lily. So yep, I'm excited for lilies. I still love lilies. I think lilies, people are just looking for, high expression lilies, which is what they should be looking for, but there's like levels to it, you know? Like there's some that are covered, but then there's some that are, it's covered, but then the structure is a little off, the patterning is a little bit off, the lily white expression, the coverage is a little bit not as neat and clean and cool looking. So there's definitely levels to lily whites. So it's not just purely about how covered it is, it's about how it's covered, if that makes sense. So all that to say, I'm excited to be working on those lilies, and I think it'll be good. So I have a lot of that stuff going on this season as well. I have a pretty big collection of lily females that I'm pairing to, the boy named Charcoal. He's not really a charcoal, but his name is Charcoal. He's basically a triple X. A triple X that's high coverage white. And I'm throwing that to it. I'm throwing Panda to some lilies. Panda is another high white animal. To some lilies, So, and then I have my Exantic lily that I'm mixing into some normals to make some hets. So hopefully I'll have some 100% het lilies soon. And obviously I'm trying to grow things out so that I'm not just selling like tiny things, So on my palm street, and maybe I'll end with this since I've been rambling for long enough. On my palm street, I don't sell a ton of animals, to be honest, on each palm live. Before I was selling maybe like, okay, I'll sell like 8 to 10, and then I started going down to like 5 to 6. And that's kind of where I'm at right now, around 5 to 6 animals per show. My last show, I only put up 2 animals, and both sold. Nice animals, and both sold for a good price here. I'm not dumping my animals, right? So my average price is above 200 per animal, but also, I'm selling things a little bit nicer. I'm trying to keep the average value up. But anyway, my point is that I only sold 2 animals, 2 geckos on my last live, and I sold a bunch of food. And yeah, I still did okay for what it was. I'm not trying to sell, make 10K per show. I can't for one. If I could, then yeah, I'd probably go that route. But I've taken the route of like, okay, can I sell a bunch of these animals for smaller? I can, but I'm going to take my time, grow them out so that they're more sellable and they're more expressive in terms of their potential of what they can be, so that it's less of a gamble for the buyer, less of a gamble for me to let it go as well. And everyone is probably just happy with what they're getting, right? Because if anything, it'll just get better rather than worse. If it's an animal that is, lesser breeder stock quality, then you'll know, and you at least know what you're buying. I'm not going to sell you something that is not, if it's a gamble, I'll tell you it's a gamble. I'll be like, this one, oh shoot, I almost lost a gecko here. Oh, my bad. What did I say? What was I saying? I said, if it's a gamble, like if it's small, then I'll tell you, okay, it comes from a good lineage, but I can't promise you that's going to be great. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think that people should be doing that. That's my personal opinion. I think that you can say like, okay, this is from good lineage, yes, but I've bred enough animals to know that not everything from nice lineage stuff is going to be amazing. You're going to make a lot of low tier stuff, and that's okay, right? Everyone does. But I'm not going to sell you something that's potentially lesser quality just because of the lineage. Lineage is important. I'm not taking that away, but I think it's just a factor. It's not the only factor. So now I'll try to be upfront with that to people, because I've been disappointed. I've bought a bunch of stuff that had good lineage, and yeah, it didn't turn out. I spent a lot of money and things didn't turn out as good as I thought for a handful of them. Some of them turned out great. Some of them I got a deal on, but the majority of stuff I got small. It was it was not the right expectations, and I wasn't sold. I wasn't sold it saying like, hey, this may or may not be awesome. I just sold that it was going to be awesome because of the lineage. And I bought into that, and it turned out it wasn't awesome. So I'm just trying to save people the heartache of being disappointed with, at least what I sell them. Whatever other breeders sell and however they sell, that's on them. But for me, I want you to know that if you get an animal from me, this is the price you're paying. It may or may not be, it may develop a certain way. It may be worse, it may be better at this stage and at this size and at this price, So there's various factors that go on in purchasing an animal. So, basically just educate your customers, because I want return customers, and I want people to understand what they're buying, what they're paying for, and I want people to be happy with their purchase. If they're not, they at least know that it was a gamble. I want them to know that I paid $200 for this high white animal, and it didn't turn out because it was a $200 animal. It's not that it's a bad animal. It's just that for $200, you're not going to get a freaking crazy holdback. We'll just say that, right? You're going to get an animal that's appropriately priced $200. It'll still be a nice animal, but it's not going to be top tier stuff, obviously. Top tier stuff commands top tier pricing. And that pricing is, $1K plus for really, really nice things. So there's that. So anyway, with Palm, I think it's been positive for me. I see it more as not just a sales channel, but it's a channel to educate for me. So it's I'm educating, kind of like Gecko Pod style, vlog style, but also I'm selling animals on the side. So it's geared more towards education with a side of sales. So that's been kind of my approach, and I have fun with it. I really like that people are there to learn and to engage, and for the most part, people have bought the animals. I think every single time I either sell all of them out, whether it's only 5 animals, like it's not that hard to sell out when it's 5 animals, and maybe if I put up 8 animals, I'll sell 7. So for the most part, it's been very consistent. Like since we started doing Palm Street, I think in August. So I've been thankful there, for the support that the community has brought to me and to others. I know a lot of people found success with Palm Street as well. And we've had a lot of new buyers. The crossover from plants and other things to geckos has been good. Some people might crap on Palm Street for various reasons, and they have legitimate reasons to do so. But for me, it's been overall a positive experience. Kind of funneling and building the community and funneling them towards the sales has been good. And for me, I'll do my best to not to have slimy sales or sketchy sales. I'll try to be as upfront as possible with things, and hopefully people see that, and hopefully that will translate into return customers and people being educated when they not just buy from me, but they buy from other people, which I fully support. Go support other people and other breeders as well, and other small breeders. And as long as people are educated and know what to expect, then I think that's a win for everybody, right? So there's that. I think there's more to talk about. Shipping, that's a whole nother topic, but I'll talk about that next time. But I think there's plenty of material now that you guys can learn and binge, and the handful of you that ask for vlogs and to kind of pick my brain on stuff, thank you guys for pushing me to kind of put one of these out there. I've been doing a lot more chatting and educating on my Palm Street Lives. So if you want to see live versions of this, just jump in there on Mondays. Most Mondays I'm there, and see what kind of, the 2 animals I have for sale, or 2 or 3 animals, and ask questions and engage in the comments. and I'll always try to answer every single question. So thank you guys. I hope you guys are well. Follow me on Palm Street at Zero's Geckos, at the Gecko Pod, all the good stuff. Subscribe, like this video if it's been helpful to you. And yeah, there's more stuff in the works this year. A lot of positive movement in other various aspects of business and community, which I'll share with you in the future. So stay tuned. I'll talk to you guys later. See ya.